Hey, this is Stefan with Benevolent. I'm here with Coach Bryan,
Yeah.
Bryan Beach. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, big guy.
Yes. Just let's hear just give us a little bit of background first about you.
A little bit of background, just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit or a lot of it.
Yeah. No, I'll give you the little bit, and then I'll let you questions.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I'm Ryan, 45. Married to Danielle, 19 years, three amazing kids, 15, 13, 11, all play hockey, all crazy. I'm a pastor. I've been a hockey coach. I just finished my first year on staff with UNE here with the men's program, and Um, yeah, involved in a whole bunch of different other things too, coaching CrossFit, carpentry stuff on the side, chasing my kids around to wherever they get going on. So yeah,
Let's talk about your church. What is it? What kind of church?
yeah,
Give me more about that.
yeah. So I pastor a small church startup. Typically in the Protestant church world, they call it a church plant. Using the imagery of like you're planting something that's eventually going to blossom by God's grace. I pastor a church called Grace Harbor Church in Kennebunkport. It's a little over a year old, probably about 40 or so people, small, fledgling little community of people from all different kind of walks of life. You got veterans of the faith, people who grew up doing the church thing. You've got people who are kind of new to the faith kind of journey and checking it out, seeing what it's all about. And then you got some people there who aren't quite there on faith, but because of relationships or their curiosity, they're intrigued by the message of Jesus. And so we've got young, we've got old, we've got middle age, we've got wicked smart, we've got not so smart, starting with me. Uh, we've got people who got it figured out, people who don't have it figured out. So it's a cool community.
Let's get right into the faith part. You have a story, anything you told me from college on.
Yeah,
You're ready to dive into it?
yeah, absolutely. You got a second?
Yeah.
All right.
You got a second?
We good? Yeah. So I grew up in Boston, and I did not grow up in a church context. We would say that we were nominally Catholic, which meant typically for the average Bostonian, you went on like Christmas Eve and Easter. So we did that kind of here and there, but I had no real depth and no real care for religion, God, any of that stuff. Um, we started, and there were different times as I got older where, my dad would drag us to church every so often. And later I figured out with my dad that usually when we unannounced we're told, like, hey, we're going to church, so get your stuff together, let's go. It was usually because my dad screwed up in life somehow and he felt guilty, so he would drag us all to church to kind of like atone for his own sins. Um, Along with that too, like I grew up in an abusive home, so my dad, God rest his soul. Today's actually the 6 year anniversary of his passing. Um, Alcoholic, abusive to me and my mother, pretty severely, physically, verbally. Uh, so I grew up with like a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I used to hear things like "you're a loser, you're no good," and that type of stuff kind of stuck with me as I grew up. And so the place where I kind of found solace and comfort, my sanctuary was like the rink. So at 5 years old, I started playing hockey. I also played baseball, which is in our blood. We had family members who played in major leagues. My dad played minor pro, so baseball was always part of our story too as well. Those were like sports was like my sanctuary. By the time I got into high school, I was at a private Catholic school in Boston for hockey primarily, but we had to go to mass every single week, once a week. And so I started becoming more and more like curious every time I went to mass. Like I'd walk in and immediately it was like show respect, shut up, God's around, like he's paying attention, so don't be an idiot. But I started kind of having questions about like, is it really a God? If there is a God, like what's he all about? What's my purpose in life? Who's Mary? Who's Joseph? How do they fit in the picture? What's this Holy Spirit deal? And so I started having some curiosities, but uh, I started getting more wild. I was an angry guy. I said chip on the shoulder. Started getting recruited by some colleges to play hockey my junior and senior year, but by my senior year, a lot of those started to fall off the table because I wasn't doing well academically. I was partying. I didn't care, just reckless, didn't really have any guidance. And so by the time I finished my senior year, played a little bit of junior hockey, I wound up going to Salem State, which is a Division III school just above the Boston, for hockey and baseball. And uh, that summer prior to getting to college, I started getting into club drugs. So I started going to clubs in Boston and got really into like the rave scene. So I started experimenting with ecstasy and a lot of different type of club drugs. And that started to become like a nightly thing too, like during the week. And so early on my freshman year, my coach, my hockey coach, came to me and I had missed a bunch of practices, wasn't taking it seriously, and he cut me. And I was heartbroken by that, but at the same time, like didn't care because I was more concerned about having a good time, getting high, and so I wound up suffering an injury right after that that got me prescribed pain medication, opiate pain medication, and quickly got addicted to that. And while I was kind of starting to mess around with that, I was actually dating a girl. And one night early on in our relationship, we were sleeping together. It must have been 2 in the morning, no lie. And she woke up in the middle of the night and she rolled over and she looked at me and she said, I can't date you anymore. I've walked away from Jesus and this relationship isn't right. And so when she said that, I had a mixture of like different feelings going on. Like I was, first of all, I had no context for that type of language. Like I was like, this is a little creepy. But because like I like the girl, I'm like, hey, like I'll go to church with you, whatever you want. Like let's just keep this thing going. And so we started attending a Protestant church, large non-denominational Protestant church just outside of Boston. And like 3 months into that whole journey, was sitting in the balcony one night of a Sunday evening service, and I'm listening to a woman give her testimony about how she had grown up in an abusive home. She had come to faith, and the message that she shared was that Jesus forgives us of our past sins, our present sins, and our future sins, and Jesus can remove guilt and shame. And I remember just like that resonating with me because I lived my entire life up until that point with nothing but guilt and shame.